Hey everyone, it's David at Bali and Beyond, and I'm here with Simon. And Simon came by about an hour ago, and we knew he was coming, and we've just been really connecting. Thank you for coming by.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks. Simon's, I don't know, the whole idea of being a seeker, or trying to figure out what the hell's going on here, has been Simon's journey. And hi, and we've got some guys that just come in, so we're just shooting a live video right now. Welcome. So Simon's journey has been similar to my own, where he got to a place where it seemed, I would say, inevitable that he would discover some of the secrets. They're not actually secrets at all, are they?
No, it's all there around you. You just
can't see it.
Yeah, you're kind of blinded in your own thoughts. Really.
Yes.
Yeah. Living in a bit of a dream, really. So.
Yes. No kidding.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've got so many things in common. This is why we call what we're doing Project Awakening. The idea is that we want to support people in waking up, and so living in a dream is
totally. Yeah, that's it.
Apropos.
Yeah. If you'd spoke to me 3 years ago,
yes,
I would have said the other way around, that being awoke is kind of living in a dream.
Yes.
But now I've kind of got through the healing kind of side of stuff. The world is a different world now.
No kidding.
And not in a weird way, just my perception of the world and how it feels to me and what I get from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like I read an old Buddhist book years and years and years ago, and there was a story about, they asked the monk, what did he do before he was awoken, before he woke up, before he was realized, and he said, well, I chopped wood and carried water. They said, well, what do you do now that you're awakened? And he said, chop wood and carry water.
yeah, nothing really totally changes, I guess. It's an unusual thing to explain, but I just say I'm more at peace, I guess, would be the easiest way to say it. And situations that go on don't rock me in the way that they did, and if they do, it's very quickly. And it's just a way nicer way of living for me personally. Like, that's what I mainly get from it. It feels a lot nicer. Life is fuller. People are more amazing. I find joy in people that I always would avoid. I learn from people daily. Like, it doesn't matter who I mean. And actually, I learn the most from the people that push my buttons. We were talking about that really, everybody's kind of a mirror to you. And if I have someone that's kind of upsetting me, it's usually because there's something in them, which is me really, that I haven't quite dealt with yet. And if I can learn to love that part of me and that person, the world goes a lot calmer, and it becomes a lot more enjoyable. So.
Some of us takes years, some of us can take years to get that. Totally. Seems like this has happened for you quite quickly.
It was, yeah. Well, I guess it was a lot of training. I had 37 years of kind of living how I was, and I had a decent life. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong. I didn't have depression or anything. I had a lot of health issues from post-viral fatigue and things, but I had a very amazing life. Like, I feel quite blessed actually, but it was very contrasty for me. I'm a very sensitive person, so I would feel a lot of contrast in life as a whole. And then when I kind of made the decision to help others instead of, I was always in sort of money was always a big thing for me, but I decided I wanted to help others, and so I wanted to go into medicine. And I started that journey at 37, which I guess is a little later for most people, but I was certain it was going to happen for me.
Yes.
And then a year into it, everything was going amazingly, and I fell down the stairs carrying my daughter, and she was totally fine. She was 2 years old, but she was wrapped in a big blanket, and I fractured a bone in my back, and hit my head a bit, and I decided I didn't want to go to the doctors because I was adamant that I wanted to keep doing my schooling, so I kind of kept it hidden, but I was in agony all the time, like I could barely move. And then over about a 4-month period, my body just started to deplete. Like, I started feeling tense a lot of the time and sort of anxious, and I didn't really know what anxiety was before. And I snowboarded professionally for quite a bit of my life, so fear to me wasn't really something I was ever super aware of, and all of a sudden I was scared of lots of different things. And And then one day while I was at school, I was just waiting and I started having panic attacks just while I was trying to sleep. And then I couldn't go to sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, it was a massive panic attack. And I didn't know what a panic attack was. It felt like doom, I guess is the only word. So I got back to Calgary, and then we just couldn't fix it. Like, it wouldn't leave me. Like, I could never sleep. I'd had to start on sleeping pills to sleep. I'd get maybe 2 hours a night of sleep, and I was constantly feeling in like peril, I guess. Like, it's an unusual thing. Like, part of my brain was saying, well, nothing's wrong, everything's fine. And this is a prime example. My 2-year-old would be in the bath in this much water, and I'd be looking at her, and part of me said she's drowning. Like, and every reaction in my body is that she was drowning, but part of my brain was going, well, no, she's smiling at you, and she's in a seat, she can't go anywhere. But so that's kind of what my life became. Everything was fearful. Like, it was a really unpleasant thing, but at the same time it was beautiful in that I started to understand how other people that I'd kind of not mocked, but other people I'd seen that were scared of stuff, I was thinking, well, why would they do that? Well, yeah, I was the extreme end of it now. I couldn't get out of it. I didn't want to leave the house. People were beyond. I couldn't be around people and stuff, but I couldn't find any help for this. Like, it was, but I did know I was super stressed, and so I ended up learning about breathing and stuff. So I started doing deep breathing and using M waves and things to which is kind of a biofeedback device to kind of show you when your kind of parasympathetics have kicked in. And then so I would do things like that, and then it just got worse and worse and worse. And pretty much it felt like I was dying. Like, I constantly was looking through little 2 black holes, and I couldn't walk properly. Things that I used to be able to do, like walking, and were really challenging for me to just even go up a set of stairs. It was quite tough. So I ended up really through desperation at a wonderful man called Dr. Bruce Hoffman in Calgary, who in my mind is one of the best functional doctors in the world that I've come across anyway. So we did a lot of tests and found out that basically my cortisol was gone. I had no salt left in me. My hormones had disappeared. I used up all my neurotransmitters. It was kind of pretty much my body was sort of dying off, really.
You were a wreck.
I was, yeah, in a permanent state of just
shipwreck.
Yeah, basically. And then, but some of the stuff they had there they did mention about breathing and stuff. So I you know what, I'd do anything. So I did. I remember I went home and I did 30 minutes of deep breathing. Yeah, that's all it was. Abdomen breathing. It felt horrible because my back was broken. So every time I breathed, it felt like someone was stabbing me with a knife. And
yes.
But I just kept going. Part of me said, you got to keep doing this. And then 30 minutes in, and all of a sudden the whole world went quiet and calm. And this was about 6 months in, and that was the first time that I thought to myself, there's a way out of this. Like, I've got a way out. Like, I have some control. Like, I can calm my body.
Yes.
And then as soon as I did that, I started looking at meditation and things like, what is meditation? I had no idea. What's meditation? So I would just sit, and mostly for me it was centered about breathing, because my body was so heightened that it just needed calming all the time.
Yes.
As I went along, I ended up meditating probably 8-9 hours a day. It was non-stop. I would do 30 minutes to an hour of meditation. I'd come out, feel like I was in heaven.
Yes.
15 minutes later, everything would kind of ramp back up again. I'd feel in dire panic, and I'd go back to meditating. And I would do that every day. And for a while, I was so grateful that I had that. Yes. Compared to where I was, that was such a major step forward. And then it gave me more confidence that, you know what, I could live this life. Like, even if this is what I have to do, I can meditate 8 hours a day. That's possible. And then as that went along, because I kind of had medical school training is what I was doing at the time, I was getting a lot better at ingesting massive amounts of information, and my brain was running at about 1 million miles an hour, and I was awake 20 hours a day. So I would read books non-stop. I'd read a book every 1 to 3 days. I've read a book, and some were pretty thick medical journals, other ones were spiritual books, Eckhart Tolle, and really anything I could get my hands on. When you're that state of health, your mind's pretty open to it.
I want to turn you on to Hawkins.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a new one that you're going to give me today, so I'm going to read that as well. So it was really a journey of learning, and then I turned myself into kind of a medical experiment in a number of ways. Like, I'd started testing how certain techniques would affect my physiology and different things. And then one thing that was really apparent for me is I spoke to a gentleman called Mark Calnan, which David knows a while. And
he's the constellation guy.
Yeah, totally. So we went back through our family history and found that there was a bunch of stuff happening in our family, and this kind of epigenetically gets sent onto the next person until they kind of deal with it.
7 generations, baby.
Yeah, basically. So there was a lot of stuff in our family, as all families. And one really weird, unusual question that he asked me at the time is, do you know what love feels like? And I said, well, yeah, of course, I'm married, I've got kids and stuff, I know exactly. And then he said, okay, well, what does it feel like? And I stopped for a second, I said, I haven't got a clue. I had no idea what being loved felt like. And honestly, my parents tried to send a lot of love.
You had no idea how to describe it.
Totally, yeah. I didn't know what it was. Like, it wasn't that it wasn't there.
Yes.
My perception of it was that it wasn't there. And I had a lot of fear about feeling it for some reason. And then he kind of linked that a bit with kind of family history and things. And anyway, so I actively started focusing on love. And when I did, I would bawl with tears. Like, it was unbelievable. The amount of emotion that would come out. And I said, well, this can't be good. Love can't be this nice, because it makes you feel horrendous, right? So I just did it because you said I should do it. And I kept doing it until weeks of that kind of happened. And then all of a sudden I wouldn't really tear up. And then kind of I started to feel better. And then there was times when I was in sheer panic, like in the middle of the night. And I thought, well, just focus on love. I can do that. I don't have to breathe. And I would just focus on that feeling in my chest. And if I held it for, I don't know, like a couple of minutes or 5 minutes, all of a sudden my whole body went completely calm.
Nice.
Like, as if there was nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
So then I started looking at physiology and what does the feeling of appreciation and gratitude and stuff, what can that do to my body, basically, physiologically? How can it affect my health?
Mm-hmm.
I also had a biofeedback device called an M-Wave, which is HeartMath is the company, and it kind of shows you, like, your heart variability will change depending on how relaxed you are. If you're very relaxed, then it's constantly changing. If you're stressed, it kind of straight lines almost to a degree. So from this, I could see from what thoughts I was thinking, at the same time I could see what was happening in my body. So I started doing this. I would start feeling fear and see what it would do. What would it do if I felt love and stuff like this? And over and over and over and over again, things like joy, appreciation, and love. It was insanely quick for me to get to a state of calm.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't stick. Like, I had trouble getting it to stick, but I could keep getting there. So I would do this every day.
Mm-hmm.
I just keep doing that all day long. I'd get to calm, off, on, off, on, off. And I just couldn't let it go. So then I started researching them, and they've done...
You're a research machine.
Yeah, I was at the time.
Yeah.
But prior in my life, not at all. I couldn't care about school when I was younger. And then I found that there's an institute of HeartMath in Boulder, Colorado, that makes these M-Waves. And they've done things like where they had strands of DNA in a beaker.
Yeah.
They would get someone to get in a state of love and appreciation and then focus that on the beaker from a distance. And they would notice under a microscope that there was change in the DNA. So immediately I just thought, well, this is major. Like, this is huge. I could change my life. And so that's what I started focusing on, love and appreciation. And then I would start trying to retrain my brain, like thought patterns that I had that were saying that I wasn't good enough and things. I started every day, I would say I'm good enough and I am loved, and I would do this over and over, and it felt kind of relentless, and sometimes it didn't feel like it was working, but I had data with me that was showing that every time I felt love that I was basically healing. Like, so that's what I did for a long time, and then I've gradually done that over time, and I kept testing everything I could to different techniques and how they would affect me, and I've kind of channeled it down, and during this whole time, all I could think of is every time I made a breakthrough, it's like, when I can teach someone this, it's going to be amazing. This is going to help so many people. And so I kind of started seeing myself as this is an experiment that I can help other people.
So all we need is love.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Who knew what the Beatles were talking about? So it was, and it's funny now, that song means a totally different thing to me. Yeah. And I have a new appreciation of the Beatles now, actually.
Of course.
Yeah. Like,
they're very high vibe.
They were pretty switched on. Yeah, it's quite amazing. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we talked earlier about the inability to really describe love.
Yes.
And I spoke about being in the now.
Yep.
And when we're in the now, when we're really here, that's my perception of connecting with God.
Yep.
If there is such a thing.
Yes.
And I recognize that there's so many concepts of that idea of God.
Yep.
And yet it's impossible to describe or speak about other than through the concepts.
Yeah, for sure.
But when I'm here, and gratitude brings me into the moment.
Yep.
Prayer seems to bring me into the moment, and I suspect that the ingredient in prayer that brings me into the moment is humility.
Yep.
If I'm in prayer, it's usually I'm asking for guidance, or I'm asking for fear to be removed, or I'm asking for anger to be lifted if it's come in, so I have a sense of humbled somewhat to be asking, and that humility seems to bring me into the moment. When I'm in the moment, there's nothing there that can be described. It's like,
yeah. Your body just kind of it starts vibrating at a nice calm state.
Yes.
It's a vibration that kind of stops rattling you. It kind of just calms and it goes peaceful.
Yeah. So there's so many concepts.
Yeah.
Of every spiritual teaching has their concept
Totally.
of that power, and when we go to that power, even through the concept, to that power, that is where the power resides, in the moment.
Totally. Yeah, for sure.
And so healing, love brings us into the moment.
Totally.
Healing happens
Yeah.
when we're present in love.
Yeah.
And present in gratitude.
Yeah.
And present in joy.
And it brings you belief, and belief is so strong. That's why, and it doesn't matter what.
Now, it's hard to say what comes. Does belief come, or is belief the vehicle we ride in on?
My belief came afterwards, I think. I had beliefs that made me sick. Like, I had beliefs that caused a lot of things that made me ill, right? Like, I had to succeed and stuff. So those beliefs
are part of the story.
They had their uses, though, because they got me to where I am. But I would actually, if this had happened many years ago, I would never have looked into any form of meditation.
Many beliefs are the ones you want to wake up from.
Totally, yeah.
You know, I'm not good enough.
Oh,
God, I'm English. There must be something wrong with me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm from the Maritimes. They're all bums from the Maritimes. Whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I'm too tall. I'm too short. I didn't go to high school.
Yeah.
You know, and all these beliefs. You know.
Yeah, and they're not always yours.
I'm not good in relationship.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But when I'm, when I drop into the moment, when I'm really here, none of that is there.
It disappears, and all that's left is a feeling of love and appreciation.
Yeah. So I was sharing with a man this morning that I was telling you I do lots of work in the 12-step world, and I was sharing with a man this morning that he was having trouble with the concept, and so I talked to him about the more often that he visited the moment, through prayer or gratitude or service, the more likely he was to have that become an integrated part of him, like a conscious contact, if you will, and that we become lifted up and stay lifted up. Right?
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's almost like being on when you're learning, it's almost like you're on an elastic band, and you bring yourself up and you feel calm, and then it pings you back down. But when you bring yourself a lot higher, it's almost the other way. You feel a lot better and a lot calmer, and then you kind of drop with the elastic band. Actually, it's less effort to go back to where you were again.
And people like your father start to be lifted up with you.
Totally.
Yeah.
I was saying very recently.
Because I think that as your vibration goes up, the vibrations of people around you are also lifted, and it's we have the opportunity, and that's why my motto is that we're lifting the vibration of the planet one meditator at a time.
For sure.
And meditation's a way to get to the moment too.
Totally.
Although I think sometimes it's even though I'm encouraging everybody to meditate, it's the hard way. In a way, it takes more time, like 8 hours a day.
Yeah. But it's time well spent. I feel.
It is.
It's a nice time.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
I'm a big supporter, considering this is the world that I'm in, and yet I think that prayer and gratitude and service can bring us into it so much quicker, and like boom, we're there, and sometimes anger can bring us into the moment.
For sure.
And although the results are not always what we're looking for, we get more of what we're angry with, and so if I'm in gratitude and I become present with gratitude, my life seems to blossom more of what I'm grateful for.
For sure. It's totally like it's powerful.
So it's a creative space.
Yep. Yeah. And I think it's the one big thing I found as well is that you can say, oh, I am enough and I'm loved and this and stuff, but if it really is feeling it. It's saying those words and feeling the sensation at the same time.
Yes.
The feeling is so strong. If you can, then you can get to a point where you don't have to say the words anymore. You just feel that sensation in your stomach or chest or whatever it is. So it's it's a pretty amazing.
Do you mind if he sits?
Oh,
there?
for sure. Yeah, feel free.
Yeah. Would you like to? It's pretty amazing. I just spent 10 minutes in there.
You just built it 10 minutes?
No, he put it together. He brought it with him, and Simon brought it with him and set it up for us. And so it's Simon's. We're talking about. We have a pyramid here that Simon brought, and we all got an opportunity to sit in it for a couple of minutes because There's technology that is old. Oh, I think we're going to have a look at it, are we? Yeah, here we are. There's the technology of the pyramid that I don't know that much about. Simon really researched and decided to build this, and I said it. It's pretty friggin' amazing.
It's Nassim Harriman, you know.
I don't.
Nassim.
No. I read a lot of stuff, but I don't always capture the names and stuff. But
Nassim from the West Coast, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
then no, I don't know that. No.
Yeah, and he takes tours into the pyramid.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But I've been fortunate enough to experience being in a pyramid in
Yeah.
Giza by myself.
Awesome.
So that's why I'm very interested.
Levitated. So you're more than welcome to hop on in there. So.
It's Simon's pyramid. Actually, it isn't Simon's pyramid. It's a global pyramid.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah. That's why I'm sharing it.
He's the
so.
He's the custodian.
Of this one. Yeah.
So that's. What would you teach then? How would you carry this message? Because now you're in a situation where you've had an awakening.
I have.
You're feeling, joy and gratitude and love and
for sure.
And how would what do you think's next?
So for me, kind of, I got quite obsessed with the pyramid stuff while I was kind of going along. That's one of the things that kept me going, and it was linked with meditation. But I feel like that's a way for me to help people. Basically, it's a very calming environment.
So the pyramid could be.
I think it's
one
a
of the
I think it's a
vehicles?
gateway. Basically, I think it's a gateway. Really, what I see myself do is personally is public speaking. That's what I see.
Yes.
I'm speaking to larger groups of people. And
Yes.
letting them know a story and letting them know that you can heal yourself without any sort of drugs or anything. And not to say there's anything wrong with that. I think if you need it, just take it. Like I've got nothing against it, but I just wanted to show to the world that there was a way you could get out of somewhere that looks like you're about to die, and you had mental problems because you had a head injury that it wasn't working how it should do. That you could still get out of that place without by yourself, basically.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny. I talked to you about Dr. Hawkins.
Yeah.
And I'm in the section on his book which is called "Physician Heal Thyself," and he had like 50 ailments.
Yeah.
And he's in the section of his book where he actually surrenders and lets go of all of these ailments. Like there's some of them are really friggin' amazing. And so I think that through surrender, through letting go, through connecting with love.
Yeah. But I wouldn't say just do that and don't go see a doctor.
We're not doctors. This is not advice.
It's not advice. It's just, but it can complement. Like, there's no way that meditation can't complement really anything in your life.
Yes.
Anything that calms your body.
Yeah.
And actually, I was talking about before I came here. Empowerment was a big thing, and a word that kind of popped in my head. And I thought if you could love yourself and others, if you could calm yourself when your emotions are heightened or whatever it is, no matter what the situation, whether you've lost your job, your family members have died, if you can feel love in those moments and you can calm yourself to the point where you feel centered, there's really nothing in the world that can stop you. You can do all of your dreams, you can go for your dreams, anything that you were afraid of doing. Even if you feel fear, you can calm yourself down and keep going, calm yourself down and keep going. I did that for years.
And the calming is through connecting with the moment, right?
It is, totally, yeah.
God as we misunderstand him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, being present. Like Eckhart Tolle's books are amazing, and and that's one thing I found. Like being present's quite challenging, I think, because you realize how much you think. Like it's unbelievable how much I was thinking.
Too damn much thinking.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. But there's a lot of good parts of me because I think a lot. So I didn't start bashing that. But
no, it's a good tool.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tool, but at the same time, it's nice to have a moment away from it as well. Yeah. And I found that for sure, carry on. I would find myself kind of whenever you think of my thoughts would get imprinted on the world around me. So if I saw a person, there was thoughts of.
We're good.
Yeah. Okay, we'll finish.
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm not sure what he did.
Oh, okay.
It's all good.
Yeah. And so I kind of was looking at things and I would have reactions to stuff, and I thought, well, there's nothing wrong with that thing. There's just a reaction inside me. So then I started looking at, okay, well, where is the thought? Well, the thought's basically in here. All the perceptions is in my head. Well, So there's no thought on that object, which seems ridiculous that you have thoughts on an object, but that's how my brain was kind of seeing it. So I would start looking at an object and I would think, well, is there a thought going across it? And well, no, there's nothing on it, it's just an object. And then there was a small separation between my mind and the outside of my mind, and that's where there was total peace. So then I was able to kind of concentrate on things like a chair, a table, what have you, and I could see that there was no thought there was no reaction, and my whole body would just go so peaceful, like it was,
Nice.
and it was lightning fast.
Nice.
And then it was just,
You could teach that.
yeah, totally, like that's something that's been reasonably recent actually,
Mhm.
like, and because I found when I read Eckhart Tolle's like being present, I found it was like just stop thinking. Well, I just couldn't, like I couldn't stop thinking, and I think a lot of people feel that way. So when I was able to teach my brain that there was a separation between there's no thought out here, it's all in here,
Mm-hmm.
I could kind of not really leave my head, but I could put my focus out here, and when
Mhm.
my focus is out here, there's nothing. It's just calm and peace, and I just kind of
So
react to the world.
we're actually in a vacuum.
That's what it feels like. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all sucked right in here, basically. Or beer, all that.
When I teach meditation,
Yeah.
I do that with sound. I so often, especially if we're in this space or
Yes.
the room in the back, there's quite a bit of noise. And
For sure.
so I encourage people to include the noise.
Yeah.
And then I say, where do you actually hear the noise?
Yeah. Yeah.
And is the noise outside?
Yeah.
Or is the noise inside? And the truth is, we hear the noise inside.
Yes, totally.
And
Yeah.
the sound is inside.
Yeah.
And if we can focus on the fact that your voice is not over here, it's in here,
Yes.
and then my perception can expand
Yes.
to include the whole space.
Totally.
So the sound opens up my perception.
Yeah.
It's an expanded space.
Totally. And that's, you kind of get torn, I think. Like when you, as a regular, normal human beings, as we are, your mind is off over here, it's over there. I'm thinking 8 things about this, that,
Yeah.
that. The thoughts, the sounds and stuff. So it kind of, it feels to me, I can physically feel it kind of pull my body apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not totally present in the middle, and I feel very
Mm-hmm.
disjointed and separated.
Mm-hmm.
But when I let vision come to me, and when I
Mhm.
let sound come to me, everything's in this section, and then all of a sudden
Mhm.
everything kind of collapses, and you center as one thing,
Mm-hmm.
or one person, one being, whatever you want to be. And that is, when you get that, your whole body kind of goes clunk,
Mm-hmm.
and you feel so solid and so safe, and there's really nothing that can hurt you at that point.
But when you
everything's
say
in
you
there.
mean I.
Yeah,
This happens for you, and you believe if it happens for you, it can happen for anybody.
I do. Yeah,
Of course,
it doesn't mean that everyone's going to experience life in the way I do.
No.
Like I have different
But-
perceptions on things, but I think it's possible. Like
Yeah.
that's possibility. I think is the main thing. It gives hope for people.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's hope that this can happen for one person, it can happen to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was really in a bad state and my mind was really going. When I got about 3 seconds of peace, which doesn't sound very long, I remember thinking to myself, well, if I can get 3 seconds, I can get 20 seconds. If I can get 20 seconds, I can get a minute.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get a minute and I lose it, I can go back and get another minute. And then
Mhm.
there's only 5 seconds in between where I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started looking at it like that, that's really easy.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't easy actually. I mean, I was in a lot of pain and stuff, but
Moment,
it was easy.
moment
Like,
to moment.
yeah, the thought process. And once you live like that, all of a sudden, there's not really any future anymore. There's no past. You're kind of very present.
Yes.
So it became a lot easier. It's very bite-sized pieces and it's very doable. And I think I'm not the one. Lots of people have taught very similar things before. It's just this was my realization and how I kind of saw it. So,
Can I share? So if some of you are watching and you're really content with the story that you're in, this won't make a lot of sense to you. But if you're watching us today and there's this dissatisfaction with the story that you're in, or this wanting for something to be different, or this connection, like I think that we've both had, where we know that there's more. It's not just and I remember as a kid thinking, Jesus, they want me to go to high school and university. I don't want to do any of that stuff. There's got to be more here than me just getting a job and making a family. And that was with me from a very early time. And I think there's millions of us. I think there could be billions of us that are feeling that way, that there must be more. And often we're caught in the lower realms of survival, I'm going to start talking Maslow, but really we're in survival, and so it's hard to imagine that there's a possibility of awakening. But from the place that Simon's talking about is the possibility to create anything that we need or want in our lives, and we assume that we have to be doing it the old-fashioned way. I mean, we still got to show up with our lunch pail and go to work, but it's from a different place. So that's the possibility, and Simon has some tips around that. He's going to write a book, I'm certain.
For sure.
And if you have questions, if you have questions about the pyramid, please post them, and we'll get back to you on that. And Simon doesn't have a real presence on Facebook, but he has an Instagram. We'll post that, and he has a website. We'll post that, and you can get in touch with him there. And we're talking already about maybe him making a couple of more of these, and we'll have them here so you could come in and actually meditate in this pyramid. It's weird because I can't explain it, but there is. I did it. And there's an energy that happens in there, and that can lift us up. Yeah, and James can feel it, and I can feel it, and I got in there, and it's swirling in there. It's really swirling. You're going to try it, aren't you? So it's pretty cool, and that's his. We'll call it his tool that he's working with, and these are ours. And I would be remiss if I don't mention that. This all started because I had this vision to create meditation spaces or sacred spaces in every home and every office. So that's the vision. And so we have these little meditation stools, we have little altars or meditation tables and all of the stuff that you might want to put into a space so that you can have a space where you go, a designated space where you go during the day or in the morning or in the evening to sit. And they're damn comfortable. Did you find them comfortable? Actually, you got off it. But yeah, they're really comfortable, and they're made from recycled teak. And although, I have another vision. Well, I won't share it right now, but I do have another vision of how they might be made in the future. There's all kinds of things happening for us. We just ordered 4,000 more of these. Wow. Only 4,000. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's really nothing. When I think of it, my goal this year is 10,000, but if we put 10,000 of these into the city of Calgary, it's just, you wouldn't even scratch the scratch, right? I mean, when you think about it.
The amount of people here.
Yeah. Well, we have people coming in buying two, because it's husband and wife, or, and I tell them that the couple that meditates together is, there's some amazing possibilities in that.
Totally.
I'm making up a story, but they like it, and it's because it's all story. But anyway. So this is the deal, and you can find them on our page, and we're going to put some more pictures of Simon's pyramid, and you've had an amazing journey.
I have, yeah. It's amazing. And I had one point to say on this.
Yes.
Although you said 10,000 is not very much, when you're affecting one person, though, you're not affecting just that 10,000 people. Yeah. They affect every one of their family members.
Yes.
And then they kind of it trickles on. Like if someone's pumping out love, honestly, or just whatever, or just peace or whatever it is,
and actually,
goes outwards. So.
I tell people that they're not meditation stools, that they're actually transportation vehicles, and that they skyrocket them into the fourth dimension of existence.
Yeah.
Or, what does Buzz Lightyear say? Buzz says infinity and beyond.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's possibilities for that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was amazing. So.
And you're absolutely right about that. That lifting the vibration of the planet one meditator time. My goal is 1 million people sitting on meditation stools, totally. Our meditation stools. Yes. So, and that's happening. It's like a whole new thing. Actually, the planet. There's a big movement on the planet, isn't there?
Oh, huge. Yeah, it's so common now that people say, "Oh, the universe did it for me," and there's people that's all ages saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that is huge.
Yeah.
A little while ago, that would have been.
Now, don't you think
would have been wondering what that was?
That in some way that's just another concept of God?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all.
We've kind of got a new religion in a way.
Yeah.
And the trouble with that's just the universe did that for me in some ways is that it takes the responsibility off of the person, that they have the possibility to drop into that space and access that themselves.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because the universe did it for me can easily be turned around to the universe did it to me.
Sure, they can. Yeah. Whatever way you want to look at it.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And can go into victim,
For sure.
And I had a fellow that I talked to this morning, and he was saying he's having trouble with this, concept of God. And I said, well, tell me about that. The truth is he's mad at God.
Yeah.
Or his idea of God.
Yes.
And so, he's in a victim place. And And there's, when we really drop into that moment, into that love, there's no possible way that it could be anything but for us.
For sure, yeah. There's
never against
when
us.
you can look at it as no good or bad. Like I could look at the little story I told you about how I was sick and stuff as awful, and at the time it was awful in the moment. But when I look on a wider scale of my whole life, I actually think it's one of the best things that ever happened to me.
A huge gift.
So, and if I sit in between those two places at once, I don't negate the fact that it was a painful experience. It was unpleasant. I still hold on to that was something that happened, but it was now amazing.
Yes.
And when I feel both of those together, it just feels like love. It does.
Is love.
When it's totally balanced, and when your mind is balanced, your chemicals in you are balanced. Your nervous system works as it should do.
Nice.
It's amazing. And
nice. Yeah. So all is one.
It is. Yeah.
Love.
Most of the time.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, you guys, for watching us, and you can subscribe to us on YouTube. And we'd love it if you make a comment and tell us where you're from when you watch this. And if you have questions for Simon, please put them in, and Simon will answer them. And if you have any questions for me as well, we'll try to respond. And that's it. Love you, love you, love you. And thanks. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
See ya.
Bye.